Good evening, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome from a still very cold weather in Delhi. I'm here with my chai, and today it's going to be super special. Uh, I will introduce our guest in just a minute from now. As usual, sir, we start our story with little Pan the Panda. And each time Pan finds a story which the speaker is actually going to tell us about. So today, Pan has many of his friends. He has Mr. Elephant, he has the squeaky mouse, and they are counting. They're counting cards. They're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And when they come to 10, they see a 10 with a 0. So Pan looks at it and says, oh my God, these numbers were like single. Now, how has 10 become got a 0? So his teacher comes and says, okay, Pan, let's count. So she gives Pan some cards and Pan starts counting and says, every time we count, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And when we have 10, we make a bundle of it and there are no ones left. So it becomes a 10. And Pan starts to understand that now there is 110 and there are no ones left. And then he says, I have some idea. And now Pan is going to work a little harder and understand things a little better. So today, just to help us think, to help us imagine, to help us visualize, I have a very, very special guest. Very honored, sir, to have you here. Dr.
Thank you,
Jawahar
ma'am.
is here with us. And if I sit down and read his profile, it's going to take me 40 minutes to do it. So instead of reading his profile, I'm going to just ask him to tell us a little bit about your life, your journey. The one thing that I gathered when I read and I listened to, your entire journey was that it's a journey that is expanding the world. And today, when we are spreading, goodwill to the world, so many of our vaccines are going on. The Vasudeva Kutumbakam comes so true that the world is one family, and people of our families are spreading to spread what we believe and think in the world. So I think that one part of your journey is being beautiful. And if
Thank
you
you.
can start with just telling us your journey of life, your dream, where did it start from, how did it go, and where all of us can dream.
Okay. So it's a very simple story. In the South, there is a tradition that the sister can get married to a cousin. So my parents and my father's sister, my maternal aunt, they had decided during childhood that my sister would get married to their son, their eldest son. So my father was a very menial labor. So he said that I am busy, you go. And I was around 7.5 years then. So from Vizag, I traveled to Kolkata by train. And this was after they had decided around 20 years prior to this happening when I visited their place. So when the children were born, it was decided that they will be married. So when I went there, by that time, my uncle had become a general manager of Eastern Scale Limited, which manufactures weighing machines that you see in railway stations. So when I went there, my aunt opened the door. There was a visitor sitting inside. I vividly remember what was happening, and he was eating a dosa. So little did I know that her behavior would be so different this time. She said, "Why did you come?" I said, Papa told me to speak about my sister's marriage. He said, no, 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 you people are very small people. We are not the same as when it was decided. So I didn't feel bad about that. No, I felt bad that she did not even offer anything to eat when I had come from Vizag overnight journey to Kolkata. And there was someone who was there who was already eating. So there was nothing special to be made. So I returned back and then told my father that this is what has happened. So they will not get married. So he said, then how do we manage the dowry? I alone cannot. I alone cannot do everything. So I think you will have to join hands. So we are three sisters and two brothers. One brother had gone to Sainik school, so he was not at home. So I was the only one left. So at age 8, we thought how to fend for the family so that the dowry could be arranged. Today, incidentally, is the National Girl Child Day.
Yes.
And we are talking, unfortunately, about dowry in those days. So I said, okay, we will do something. So at age 8, I thought that we'll do something. So I told my mother was illiterate, so she could only make idlis. So she told me, I can help you out. So just find out what you can do, where you can do. So I went on a recce and I found that there were 11 handcarts of idli sellers in one junction in Vishakhapatnam, and there was one handcart empty with a phone number. So I called that number. That gentleman picked up the phone and said that some child is playing a prank. He said, "You come home, we'll discuss." So when I went home, he was a pickle maker. His wife used to make pickles. So he said, "You take that handcart. It is not useful to me. But instead, as a barter, what you can do is you can sell my pickle in your handcart, and whatever you sell, 10% of it is yours." So I took 10 bottles of pickle and started. That night, before I started, I said I had jumped into it, but I don't know what I'll be able to do because there are 11 handcarts of idli already.
And you
So
were
how
8 years old.
8 years? So that is when I started thinking that night, how can I differentiate my idli from yours? So then I had an insight around 12:01 that night, and I said, why not withdraw the first bottle of pickle as incentive in advance? And then idli has two characteristics. The first characteristic is anywhere in the world idli is white. Second characteristic is idli is bland. That is why it is served with sambar and chutney across the world. So I said, if I can create a differentiator in these characteristics, then maybe I'll do it. So I used to like my bindi of my mother. And then you have that movie Shah Rukh and Deepika which says, uh, एक चुटकी सिंदूर की कीमत तुम क्या जानो, Ramesh Babu. So I used to pick out one chutki of pickle, red pickle, and put it at the center of the idli. So two things happened. Idli ceased to be white, and idli ceased to be bland because the pickle was tangy. So there were advantages to this because the laborer who used to come to us liked tangy things. His life was very bland, so he would look for tangy things. And second is, if he liked the pickle, he used to pick up a bottle at 10 rupees, and I used to sell my this thing also. So life became beautiful for me when I innovated this thing. And then I would listen to the laborers talking of different things. My wife ran away. My child is not going to school. He started smoking. This, that. So I got interested in child psychology, or psychology per se. So even though I was not going to school, that subconscious interest in learning the human mind was developed from this place. So this is how it started.
You know, when I'm listening to you, there's something that's just striking me, that everybody is so worried in this whole situation that the children are only going to come back after 1.5 years, almost 1 year, 6 months, you know. And for many months, I've been telling them that they're home with their first teacher, their mother. You know, I think that's like a very huge learning for all of us also. When you said it's the girl child day, I think so much of what we grow as children are what our girl child grows as mothers, you know.
Yes.
It's like that. You know,
Yes.
she finally is the creator. She's the person who nurtures, nourishes. So I was just saying that in this situation, in this state of thing, when the children come back, they are not going to come back blank. The mothers would have taught them different things.
Yes.
And you know, you're saying that at 8, you actually went out there and fended for your family.
Yes.
You know, and then how did you educate yourself? You today, I'm told you travel the world. I was looking at the number of seminars, the lakhs of people. How did you do this?
See, there are three teachers that I have since age 8. The first teacher obviously is my mother. In my one column about in Speaking Tree, I wrote about this 1 month, 2 pilgrimages. So the first teacher is mother. What she was illiterate, but then she understood that the 4 children are going to school, and one child is not going to school. So what she would do is, she would learn herself and then teach me. So as I was growing out of school, she was also growing as a lady. So she was my first teacher, and I'll later on tell you about one incident which taught me that my mother would have taught me something wrong. But she taught me something. That is more important maybe than one wrong thing. The second was, again, when I gave my 12th private and then qualified with good numbers. And then we had grown by then. The restaurant was doing extremely well. And then the handcart owner had also joined me in managing the restaurant. So he said, Jawar, why don't you do one thing? We'll build up a hotel, a big hotel. And meanwhile, you go and do your hotel management. So that was the forward integration for me. I went. So in during one such initial days in Kolkata, uh, during the bus journey, some batchmates of mine in the early days were saying that this boy doesn't know English. Hmm. And they were teasing me. So one lady with very short hair got up and said, "Cut, what if he does not know English? Get out." So they got frightened. She looked to me like a teacher. Huh? So then she said, "Do you want to really learn English?" I said, "Yes, why not?" Then she said, "You come to Park Street. That is your responsibility. I will give you 5 words every day. Next day, when you come, put those 5 words into sentences so that I know the meaning, and I'll give you bread and butter." So that was how we figured out. All the English that I know today belongs to my later 2 teachers, not my mother. One is this lady who is known as Florinda. So when I had become big or whatever I am today, I forgot about Florinda teacher. And then at age 40, I realized that I had forgotten my teacher. So I gave a big ad in the newspaper Telegraph in Kolkata. Where is my Florinda teacher? That's all in the front page. And there was no response. But one of my lectures in the government of Goa, I saw one lady sitting in the audience, and that was Florinda teacher.
My God,
So,
okay.
that was the spark that led me to write 1 month, 2 pilgrimages, because that month I had visited my mother and Florinda
Okay.
teacher. So these are the 2 teachers. The third I'll come to later.
I also feel so just now when I'm listening to your story. There are a lot of times where people tell us, get professional, get professional. This is not the way, get no connect to the heart. Think from the mind, get professional. I've been hearing this for years of my life. And after listening to you, I realized one thing that I'm not going to disconnect from my heart. None of us should. Because our journey upwards is not about just thinking from the mind, but also connecting the
Yes, yes, yes.
human, just the feeling to so I always keep this little big heart in this drawer of mine. And I always tell everybody the day my heart stops beating for my work, I'll stop working. And listening to you, I think that's one thing which all of us must absorb, that we are all going out there and saying change the country, and the government is going to do this and the government is going to do that. So I just thought that it's so nice if you can share with us, what is it that I can do as an individual. What are your thoughts on each one of us getting ready to take this country to change? Just if you could talk to us about a little bit about early years, how you imagine it. What do you imagine from us as early years people?
Okay. So something that connects to my experience is, in the early years, due to no formal schooling, the methods that I have learned have been phenomenal. They might be a fluke, but the US state has used them to the biggest advantage. So all the charter schools in the US are using what I have done in my curriculum, because they think that they are phenomenal. Now, let's look at what we have done or what we should do. Uh, See, there is a lot of rhetoric on education, that this we should do this, they should do this. There are simple things which could be done. One word that you have said, that the connect with the child, we should not first perceive the child as a fool. the connect of a child with the emotion of the teacher is very high. That is why you see in your alumni meet, you would have learned from 10 teachers, but you have one favorite teacher. And the teacher might be very strict, she would not be very beautiful or anything. But because she has had a connect with you, that emotional connect, you've been able to learn from her. So the simple reason why what I say is that learning is equal to teaching plus emotion. If you have teaching plus emotion, then the child will learn. Otherwise, what you are doing is what the book is doing. Simple. There is nothing else. So the first thing that we'll all, as teachers, as parents, etc., whatever my mother taught me, she taught me out of emotion. It might not have been very great, but what she has taught me is with emotion, and I have learned it. And that is the basis of learning. That if you can put in an emotion, teaching is not a profession. It's not a simple profession. There is a lot of emotional content that has to go into your teaching to reach the child. If we think that just by turning the pages or giving a lecture, it is going to reach the child will act as if he has learned, but he is actually not interested in learning, and the teachers will crib later. This is especially in the early years, because the teacher takes a prime spot, maybe sometimes over the mother, if there is an emotional connect. So I think this is the basis of early learning, that pour in your emotions. If you are a teacher, if you are a parent, then only learning will happen.
In this whole digital time, I have met teachers who say that children don't respond. I said, because you're talking to the screens, you're not talking to the children. You can reach out. So what we started doing is we said use music, use movement. Don't become so stiff with what you're doing. Look into the eyes of the children. Let them be wonder. So that's how they learn. And then there was this thing of recorded digital resources going to little children. And that is the first thing which I said you mustn't do, because then they can just switch on any game and play it, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to teach them, just come out and be alive. And another thing that I thought I must ask you is that when this is a digital world, I mean, now there is no caution. But what I'm seeing is a lot of children who used to be addicted to the screens. Today, when you peep out, I have a whole. I live in in an area where my balcony overlooks a basketball court. I've been here for 1.5 years. I have hardly seen a child come to the basketball court. They only sit there, chat, and go. But in the past 4 months, the children start playing basketball at 6 in the morning. Even when I have to do my recording, I have to wait till 10 till the lights are off for them to go home. So I think it's giving us a very strong signal that the human touch is very important.
Yes. So when you say human touch, it is all the most of the learning that is happening in schools or homes. He makes use of only maybe 2 senses or 3 senses. All the senses, if used, the learning is wholesome. So it includes smell, it includes touch. So I am not, when I am teaching A for apple, the child is not smelling an apple. He is just seeing a 2D picture of an apple in the book, and that's it. So my Think curriculum, which the US state is using, and I am not allowed to use in India, I would have loved to use it, uses all the 5 senses. So we have a poem about A for apple. Specifically for each alphabet, there is a poem, and then there is an activity along with the poem, which brings the apple, cuts the apple, tastes the apple, smells the apple, etc. So I think all the 5 senses, if used by a teacher or parent at home in early learning stage, the child's sensory organs become sharper and learning becomes wholesome.
When I'm just listening to you, uh, you talk about rhymes, you talk about experiences. In India, in every 50 kilometers, dal ka tadka changes. The flavor changes. So I always tell people in our own country that, we are equipped, we have it all. Right behind me, I will just show it to you. I have this lathi and ghungru which I picked up from Rajasthan. And it's just a lathi with ghungru on it. But what you can do with it, it's the world.
Yeah.
what you can do with stories, what can you do. So for you, how do you take this entire, because you've traveled the entire country, how do you look at folk tools? How do you look at the simplicity of folk music coming into our learning environment? Do you feel it's possible? Do you feel it's workable?
Yes. So what used to happen earlier was uh, the folklore as well as these tools used in these areas used to be a part of the learning ecosystem. It is we who have distanced ourselves from them. So I think it's high time with the national education policy clearly saying that there has to be localized content to the extent of 80%. These are the things which need to be brought out. We identify with them. I try to teach somebody in Bastar or Jharkhand or someplace something which is very anglicized or something which is there in the book. He will not identify with it. So if I am trying to build on his past experience, we are useless in terms of using up his past experience because he is close to those folklore. So I think if you are able to connect with his past learning through these tools, I think there is nothing like it. But what we do is in a very anglicized kind of British culture kind of a thing, we have forgotten our roots. And these are the roots which actually build up our character as well as culture, not just the learning part. We don't
Right.
do it.
It's very interesting. So I'm an author with the Oxford University Press in India, and it's when I did my recordings for my songs. I asked for a voice. There used to be this old singer, Preeti Sagar,
Yeah, I know.
and it was so beautiful. They actually found me a singer like that. They said, "Yeah, this is perfectly good." And you know what the feedback came from schools, that it's too Indian. I mean, we were like stunned, you know. We said that, yes, this is our accent. You see, you used to speak the word
Yes, yes.
correctly. But our essential accent, this is how an Indian
Yes,
speaks,
yes.
right? I mean, like I'm from Hyderabad. So anybody, I say, Kya hai bhai? And everybody say Hyderabad. Or, you know, there's a certain way that we all say it. So as schools and as teachers, I think like what I'm saying, that's the reason why I put up this world map around, yes, for you, sir, that you know we, like you said, your curriculum is being used in US, right? So an Indian mind, an Indian thought, studied in India, grew here, has actually taken a whole curriculum and put it in a country which we look at and say very progressive and better
Yes,
than
yes.
us. Where is, you know, I was, when I was reading up today to sit down and talk to you, I was just thinking, if I make a list of Indians today who are just all over, who've picked up our parts of learning, there's so many times when we say that, you know, we need to learn, unlearn. I think there's a lot of fantastic stuff we need to repractice. That's my
Yes.
take on it. That, you know, so do you feel that, what is the strength? I mean, like if you look at India today, what is the strength you feel we have, which you feel is foremost as teachers?
So I'll tell you, my first book, Mama and Me, was when I was in the US. Universal came up and said you should do a book. I did a book. It sold around that time around 10 lakh copies. Now it is around 1.8 million. It has sold worldwide. So when they came up to me and asked me to sign an agreement, I said I am not going to give you distribution rights for India because the Indian parent almost is ready for parenting by the time he or she gets married. That is our culture, the strength of our culture. So they don't need a parenting book to do this. It is you people who will need. So my take on India is that India is a fantastic country until we stop looking at the West and try to influence ourselves from the West while the West seeks our influence. So I am very clear on this. The second thing is, and it's an irony, the Prime Minister of India and the President of US met in the US, and there was a delegation. I was then in the US. So the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh says that we need to take something back from here for our education. Then Obama laughed. He said, "One Indian has come to us and taught us, and you are coming from India and saying you should listen to him and talk to him." That was when India started recognizing that I was present in the map. So that was when Barack Obama said, then they started, and then Manmohan Singh's invitation came. So that's okay. I am okay with all that. But for me, India is the be all and end all for the early learning. We have the ecosystem ready for it. We are running away from it.
I so agree. Very recently, sir, there was somebody who kept sending me a message saying that, uh, we'll take you to a world tour. So I told them, I said, come to my country. Come to my country. Come and see the mugu. Come and see the lines. Come and see the embroidery. Come and see just the, mother knitting and giving the children butter to peel. That's learning. It's happening with textures. It's happening with counting. It's happening with. So I so believe in this fact that, and I remember when I was doing my course, somebody looked at me and they said, what will you do with this 10 by 10 card? So I would say I would conquer the world. So I'm so happy to hear that, that there is just so much. And also as resources, sir, as we travel the country, I see some basic resources everywhere which can be used. Something
Yes.
like even like for example, beads. So when we saw plastic beads, I would look at them and say, they would say we can't afford it. So I would tell them lathi kaat lo. The lathi has that little hole in it. A bamboo
Yes.
has a hole in it. And take sutli and do beading with it. When we went to Punjab, it was so interesting. They told us हम PVC pipes काट लेते हैं. So that's the richness of
Yes.
India. And I'm so glad that, we have somebody who's telling us this, that come and look within.
Yes.
And I also heard when I was reading up, I also said that your curriculum has a very nice, it's called, Art of Thinking, and Think for India is what caught my attention.
Yes. Yes.
If I have to think for my country, what would you ask me to think for, sir?
So first, I should think that I am proud of my country. See, that is one basic tenet that we are lacking. We are proud of other countries, but I am not proud of my country. Until I am proud of my country, I will not learn from my country. I'll keep looking outwards. So I am a pure Indian by heart. I mean, you take me to US, I will want dal chawal. That's all. I don't want anything. I don't want anything else. The second thing is in India, my third teacher, which is Bollywood. So it's a fantastic experience for me.
I just saw that comment of yours, Ek Chutki Sundur, and I wrote down, do you like Bollywood? That would have been my next question to you.
No, Bollywood has been my third teacher, and I see for a child of 8, morning 5:30 to 11 o'clock in the night, by the time I washed the dishes, was a very strenuous schedule. So what I used to do, I figured out that I had to de-stress myself in the weekend. So I used to close my shop at 12 o'clock and go for whatever movies were released at that time. So I learned my first alphabets, DON, from Dawn, the movie Dawn. So I was a crazy Amitabh fan. I learned from that. So Bollywood remains my third teacher whom I pay tribute every Sunday. I go for all the movies released.
Oh my God, this is fabulous. I'm sure Bollywood is going to be very happy to hear this.
No, so the gratitude that we should have is something that is very Indian. So I don't forget my parents. I don't forget my teachers. I don't forget my movies, which are easily relatable. The second important thing in India is that we learn how to use minimal resources. Optimum usage of resources is very good in India. So today I go to play in the morning at 6 o'clock. Till 8 o'clock, I play a 15 over match with children. So what I do, I take 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th children and teach them gravity with cricket. So the Newton's laws of motions with cricket. So the person releases, the timer goes on, and the person where it pitches, another timer goes off. You know the distance of the pitch and the velocity has to be found out. Teach them simple things on a cricket ground. You don't need to give that V is equal to U plus 80 on a board. You can teach it on a cricket ground. So we should use our resources.
I think that's one very strong message that, today, in fact, I very recently we've started this entire process for parenting, and each time we've been trying to tell them that you have it in your house.
Yes.
So as an early years teacher, I had to carry things from home and then I would take it to school. and then I would show it to the children. But today, when the children
Yes.
are home, I did a session in the
Uh,
kitchen. I said, if in the kitchen my child is
okay.
there, the measurements are there, the stirring is there, the peeling is there, the mashing is there, the taste is there, the smell
Uh,
is there, the touch is there. So why can't we just use these simple resources? So I think today this is going to be a lot of messaging for everybody who's watching you, that please look within. I think that was one, So
yes.
dreaming was what you dreamt one day. You picked up your cart, you set it up, and you had a vision with the idli, with the little bindi in the middle.
Mm.
That became your vision. And the way ahead was your, a dream to become a psychologist,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
then
Yes.
imagine you go and set up a curriculum in the US.
Yes.
So all of us can dream. I think that's one very big message which all of us should carry back from today. That dream and have a vision, because in the morning when this 8-year-old went to the cart, his vision was, I'm going to create a process
Yes.
which is different from the others. So
Mm.
the first vision happened. So I think that's a great, a process for us to learn. But I'll also ask you to tell us a little bit more about, I mean, you can talk about your curriculum to us, right?
I
Like, what
can.
does it have?
Okay.
What are the little things that you do in it? Just to give us a little idea of how we can do, go that way.
So two important aspects. One is the art of thinking, which is incorporated in it. So what happens is, this is my understanding, that we have tried to bust three myths. One is that the teacher feels that good handwriting is equal to intelligence in early years. Huh? So it's a myth. So nobody should become a doctor in that case. If you are intelligent, don't become a doctor. That's the message. Doctors usually
We
don't have
spend
good.
so much of time with handwriting, which is so
Yes, yes.
unnecessary.
So that is one. The second is, the teacher feels that what I am teaching, if the child is learning and maybe not asking too many questions or disturbing the class, he or she is a good child. Forget about intelligence. So good child, the definition is this.
It's
The
quiet.
th- the third is that parents have become so disconnected from the child that they keep changing schools, because their perception of the school and the teacher does not fit their ambitions or aspirations. So changing of school, not like our times when the whole childhood went into one school. Now parents change 3 to 4 schools, which is not a very good. So what we've done in think curriculum is, one, that chinku minku rinku tinku, there are four characters in the books. So they are your friends from day one. They grow as you grow in your classroom. So if you are in class one, he is 6 years old, 7 years, like that. So all of them, even if you change your school and you use think curriculum, these four friends remain with you. So that emotional connect of losing a friend, disconnect of losing a friend, I have tried to cater to by bringing in four friends in the book and the curriculum. So parents I cannot change because they have their set mindset. I can change children at least. So that is the premise of this. The second is that I have a difference of opinion with the current classroom. The first thing is that the classroom is not designed around the child. The child is asked to sit in a classroom, and then you have the first social studies lesson, and the teacher comes and does whatever they do, and then 40 minutes later the bell goes on, social studies brain off, maths brain on, teacher comes in. So we are not doing a good service to students by asking them to switch on and switch off 4 times, 8 times. So again, I am coming back to the national education policy, which says that we should integrate art, sports, music into the curriculum and do transdisciplinary instead of breaking it into social studies, English, this, that, that. Why can't I mix music and math? Why can't I mix sport and maths? Why can't I mix music and science? I can do anything. So transdisciplinary is the thing that we should learn, and we should not forget those airtight compartments of subjects while teaching in early years. You can do it from grade 6. Students have started understanding what is what. But why put in big words like social sciences, environment, this, that, it is small children? Give them life lessons.
Just make it just little simple. So what, like the other day when we were talking, I was talking to some earlier teachers, and they were saying, so will there not be subjects? I said, no, nobody says that don't teach a subject. Teach a math, but with a math, can you do a little lesson in measurement? Can you do a little sharing? Can you just play some music and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let 5 children group together? So nobody is saying that. So also there is a fear, sir, that when you just have themes, it becomes difficult for teachers to just work on one theme.
Yes, yes.
So what we are suggesting, just to correct me if I'm wrong, that we are saying you pick up any topic. Like for example, if you're picking up teaching